Welcome to Bonehead Weekly. This week, we're going to talk about someone who people say, and this is true for most people, it's the best of times, it's the worst of times. People have said wonderful things about, and people have said horrible things about. But I tend to believe most of the horrible things, we'll get through it. I think they're all mostly true and cannot actually be blamed on his current condition. But Bruce Willis is a movie star.
He's an icon. He is a generation's Humphrey Bogart.
Yeah, he's a movie star.
Well, I think that's a fair thing to say.
And the best compliment ever. He is Chad's right. He's iconoclast. He's an icon.
Well, I was going to say, I think he is. And I like the parallel to Humphrey Bogart. Bogart.
He didn't do shit for Bogart's career.
But Humphrey Bogart, because I think, and no offense meant to Bruce Willis, because Bruce, if you happen to see this, A, I'll be shocked, but B, I look like this. So you're one up on me, sir. That being said, Bruce Willis is not exactly what you would consider, to most people, leading man attractive. Like, he's not Cary Grant. He's not, but there is something about him.
Well, neither was Bogart.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I like the parallel to Bogart. I think it works because Bogart was bogey. He was not exactly, sex appeal was not Bogart's main thing. He was just so good at what he did.
I mean,
he ran with it.
And I honestly don't think, and especially true with Humphrey Bogart, I can't think of anybody, especially in recent history, whose charisma just bled onto the screen. I mean, that is Bruce Willis to a T. He is a talented actor, but the charisma alone is what made you watch every movie.
To me, and George, I think George Clooney bleeds charisma, but it may just be for me. I may just have a crush on Clooney. I don't know, like a man crush. But I like Clooney.
I like Clooney as well, but yeah, Bruce Willis is a little bit more above that.
Well, Clooney talks.
Yes.
Bruce doesn't have to say a word.
Mm-mm. He just gives you the stare.
Yeah, just the stare. And Kevin Smith tells many great stories about him, and they're good stories to hear. They're unfortunate, but probably all true, of him taking the script to go, I'm not going to say that, and then just doing whatever it is he does, and he can get away with it.
Well, there's other actors who do. Denzel Washington, I believe, is another prime example. I think, I don't know the story, but I can't remember. I'm not going to get it correctly, but there was a director. I don't even know what movie it was, but he was trying to really direct Denzel.
Yeah. And
at the time, Denzel just looked at him and said, like, 43 and walked away. 43 was the number of movies he had been in.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's Bruce Willis gets a lot of crap for doing that, but that's just Hollywood, in my opinion.
And actors. I mean, and you have to have a huge ego to make it that far anyway. But that being said, there's probably a lot to be said about, he probably has done 43 movies. He probably does know a little something about what he needs to do and what he doesn't need to do.
Yeah.
Well, there's also we've talked about this, but now, we've talked about this before though. To do 43, you have to be really good, really easy to work with, or really cheap, or some mixture,
or some combination of both.
Yeah. Some combination of those three factors. You're good,
probably not cheap. Easy to work with. So let's say he's really good, because we know they weren't cheap.
No. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But we, by the way, Hollywood, if you're looking, would be relatively easy to work with, and we are really cheap.
We are dime store hooker cheap.
I don't know what scale is, but you don't tell
the union. Well, I usually just break them.
Yeah. You don't tell the union we won't. We'll go a little bit below that.
Yes, that's right. We've all got jobs. We just need a side hustle.
Yeah.
we don't need to make a full living. We just need to be on IMDb. So Bruce, I thought, was born in New Jersey. He was raised in New Jersey. He was actually born in West Germany. His dad was in the army, was a soldier, and his mother would later be, she worked as a secretary in a factory where his dad was a master mechanic and a welder. And he was actually, his hometown of Carneys Point, New Jersey, is where his father was from. And he's talked about oftentimes, and he does bring this across on the screen, even though he's not that, blue collar.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he says he's from generations of blue collar, and he does bring it across the stream, but I think of Edward Norton talking about during his roast that they did a few years ago, and Edward Norton talking about, him wearing not Edward Norton, but Bruce Willis wearing the stupid Trump hat. And then what's that movie they did with Wes Anderson that Bruce Willis, Bruce is good in it, by the way.
Moonrise Kingdom,
about them all being low budget. Wes renting a house. They're all staying in the same house. Edward Norton, all these other great actors, and Bruce has Bruce has rented a huge estate across from them and is staying there. It's probably costing more money than he's actually making for the movie. And Wes coming to Edward Norton going, I just don't know if Bruce is in on this with the rest of this with us. and then Edward Norton going, and he still outperforms us.
Yeah. He's one of the highlights of that film. So, yeah. I mean,
I remember Bruce because he's funny in it.
Yeah.
It's not one of Wes Anderson's best films, in my opinion.
Oh man, that's a topic for another episode.
I know it is a topic. They're all interesting, but they're not all good.
Do you think that's actually part of the appeal of Bruce Willis, is that when he does comedy well, he does it well. When he does action well, he does it well. Now, we're not saying all his comedies are great. We're not saying all his action films are great. But when they are great, they're great.
Bruce Willis, I think, is above any kind of approach or argument as far as saying, back to what Chad said, icon or iconoclast. He is just a movie star to me. That's what a movie star is, or one of. And he's probably one of the last.
Yeah, and we'll get into it where he there's a movie that he did. We'll talk about. I guess we could talk about it now. There's Armageddon.
Mm-hmm.
Like a cheeseball film. It's Michael Bay.
Listen, Chad, I don't want to miss a thing.
Yeah,
because I don't want to look away.
Star-studded,
even when I close my eyes.
Star-studded cast.
Star-studded stast.
Yeah,
that too.
Which in case anybody in that movie could have carried that film, but it suffers from the fact that it's a Michael Bay film.
It's no Space Cowboys.
I will say in the late
Space
90s.
Cowboys is more fun.
Yes, when it came out in the late 90s, though, I was in love with this film. I was. I'm not going to badmouth Armageddon, but what saves that movie is Bruce Willis's performance. It's great, and that whole closing speech at the end is a tearjerker, and Bruce Willis would deliver that in a corny cheeseball film about oil drillers going up in outer space to destroy an outer asteroid that's going to crash into Earth and kill it.
Now, I'll be honest with you, Chad. I agree. Bruce Willis I don't remember the speech, though. I only remember the joy of Steve Buscemi.
Right. Same thing with
Space Madness.
No, the entire dialogue of, lowest possible bidder. Wrap in. That's what I remember.
That's my favorite part of Con Air.
Yeah. No. Steve Buscemi is one of those people that if you told me I could get one actor.
Let's do a Steve Buscemi
episode.
Yeah, we should.
We're going to do a Steve Buscemi episode. We have to. He's one of our favorite actors. So let's skip that and talk about Bruce Willis.
So
hello, fellow youths.
Before we start going through all this, I want to give you a little history. He had a stutter, and his nickname in school was Buck, and he joined the drama club, which actually found that acting on stage helped his stutter quite a bit. He was actually elected president of student council, and he worked at a nuclear plant after he graduated. And after a while, he decided to do the drama program at Montclair State University. And after that,
he grew that third arm. He's like,
he grew that.
I gotta go.
Well, in '77, he just went ahead and said, "Screw it, I'm moving to New York City," where he supported himself. Because he's a good-looking dude, and at Manhattan art bar called Kamikaze, while he lived in Hell's Kitchen.
Real quick, so you're telling me that Bruce Willis had a stutter. So what you're telling me is that Bruce Willis is Hollywood's Mel Tillis.
I am not saying that in any way, shape, or form.
So,
but
who is Hollywood? Who would you say?
Mel Tillis is Hollywood's Mel Tillis.
Okay, I'll give you that one.
So his big breakthrough was a little show that ran for 5 seasons with him and Sybil Shepherd. I didn't realize, for some odd reason, in my head, he was kind of an established actor before that, but he wasn't. The only thing I guess he had been on was he's in the Twilight Zone, the first couple of episodes from the 80s Twilight Zone. And he's in the one that's written by one of James's favorite authors, James. It's called Shatterday. And who wrote Shatterday?
Based on a Harlan Ellison story conveniently called Shatterday.
Shatterday.
And it didn't involve, and the episode didn't involve Bruce Willis eating a bad taco.
No, but it is it is really good, by the way. Go back and watch it. It holds up pretty well.
Yeah, it's a pretty good episode.
And Bruce Willis is really good in it. So Moonlighting, one of 3,000 he got that part. And Sybil Shepherd in an interview later wondered what was why, and she goes, he's pretty good looking.
By the way, if y'all, for those of our listeners that haven't seen Moonlighting,
you can't. There was a whole article about the other day. It's not available for streaming.
It's a rich man's Remington Steele. Anybody?
Remington Steele is the rich
It
man.
was rich man's Remington Steele.
I love Remington Steele with Pierce Brosnan.
Everybody loved Remington Steele with Pierce Brosnan.
Yeah, Moonlighting was one of those shows that I really liked as a kid, but I never got to watch. It was like a rarity for me to actually see an episode.
Because it was up at late. It was on at 10 o'clock, wasn't it? It was too late for us to watch.
It was on at the hour 10.
My mom thought he was handsome. My mom was into Bruce Willis. I think most people's moms were into Bruce Willis.
I've got a question, Joe, and I don't mean to.
Is this about my mom being a whore?
I don't mean to shame anybody, but is there anybody that, right off the top, you said Pierce Brosnan, Bruce Willis. I know Elvis.
Who wasn't she into? Dad.
No. Well,
the thing is none of my family is ever going to listen to this. So there you go.
Allegedly, at least once, but then again, according to the other,
I don't know. I look a lot like him, James.
Hold on. According to the other source, is it Ray Kuntz that you're related to?
Somebody as a relative of Ray Kuntz is going to listen to this. I'm going to get sued, and I'm going to need your attorney in Mississippi.
No, it is all alleged. We did not say that was alleged. You don't know that to be true or untrue.
Let's get back to Moonlighting and get off my mom.
Well, somebody should.
Oh, she's getting older. You're going to break rib. So Moonlighting ran for 5 seasons. I didn't realize, for some odd reason in my head, it didn't run that long. And
66 episodes. So
it's not a lot. Episodes. It said it ran for 5 seasons. That's not 5 seasons. That's not wrong. That's information's wrong. I would have thought there were more than 66 episodes.
No, it's 5 seasons, and it was 66 episodes. Yeah.
Huh. Well, I wonder.
We'll need to look. We didn't look that much into it. It might have been like one of those mid-season shows.
It could have been. Honestly, a lot of stuff from Moonlighting, the behind-the-scenes stuff is almost the fighting between him and Sybil Shepherd. It's almost as famous as the show.
Yeah, it's like it's like Cheers with Ted Danson and Shelley Long. I mean, it's mostly known for that.
Yeah. And by the way, it was created by a guy named Glenn Gordon Caron. And James, do you know what he co-produced and wrote on?
No.
Remington Steele.
Well, I did not know that when I made that crack, but once again, a rich man's Remington Steele.
Remington Steele, bud. He wrote on Remington Steele. He also created Moonlighting and Medium. I never watched Medium, but yeah.
I watched Medium. Now, Medium was a rich man's Ghost Whisperer.
Stop it.
It was a rich man's Ghost Whisperer. It's more nuanced than Ghost Whisperer. Ghost Whisperer, as Family Guy pointed out, had 2 things going for it.
What?
I'm not going to actually tell you what the 2 things are if you haven't figured them out yet.
Oh, yeah, no, I know what they are. I'm sorry. I was looking up his IMDb. All right. Chad, somebody talk. I'm done talking. I've got us through Moonlighting. Does anybody know his first movie?
I thought it was it Die Hard? Or was it not?
Not even close. Do you want me to tell you what?
Because I thought he was in Moonlighting. He did a commercial, and then they wanted him to do Die Hard from. Am I jumping the gun?
He made $4 million off those Seagram's commercials. And you know why he quit doing them?
Why?
He stopped drinking.
Oh.
I know. No, a guy named Blake Edwards. You know who Blake Edwards is?
God, I forgot about.
Made a movie that my mom loved. Sorry, called Blind Date. It's about a workaholic who needs a date for dinner with a new important clientele, but his brother sets him up with a could lead to disaster. It's Kim Basinger and Bruce Willis. It's actually a fun movie, but I haven't seen it in 30 years. It's also good.
So what you're saying? So Blind Date is a rich man's After Hours.
No. After Hours is a rich man's After Hours. And during this time, he also had a successful recording career.
Yeah.
He played a guy named Bruno, and they did these songs.
Oh, Bruno.
And they made a documentary about it. It's called The Return of Bruno. That's right.
It's the album. My brother owns the album, the LP. It was a record.
Mm-hmm.
The Return of Bruno. And if you've never seen it, I do recommend it. I'm not gonna knock his performance because he's Hollywood, right? It's like Gleason, Jackie Gleason performing. Jackie Gleason did 4 records that I know of. I've got one of them framed on my wall over here. Jackie Gleason was an actor, but he sang these little lounge tunes. Well, if you get a chance, do watch it. You can watch because they did a video special. I think it was on MTV.
No, it's a mockumentary. Yeah, absolutely.
And he performs with the Supremes Under the Boardwalk.
Yeah.
Or not the Supremes. I'm forgetting who, but Under the Boardwalk with them as the backups.
Sisters, guys.
I never said anything.
The Pointer Sisters.
Don't put me in on James's kerfuffle.
It's not the Pointer Sisters that he performs with in the video because it's 4 guys, so that would be odd. But anyway,
they call themselves they and them. Go.
But anyway, you can watch the video online, him performing Under the Boardwalk. And the problem is his performance isn't bad. But when you have rock stars backing you up that did the song back in their heyday, you're going to lose out because it's automatically like, yeah, he's good. But then they do the Under the Boardwalk, and you're like, oh God, they're better. Can they take it? And that's not an insult to Bruce Willis. Obviously he got an album out of it and people do enjoy it. And it got music videos and all of that stuff. He's ahead of me, but yes, if you can find it, you can YouTube his music videos. He's not as good as Tim Curry's music videos, but yeah.
The next movie he did actually was with Blake Edwards again, and it's actually a movie I've never seen. Have you
either?
Never seen Sunset.
So yeah, by the way, I'm beating myself up for saying Die Hard was his first film, and I forgot about Blind Date and Sunset. And I have never. Sunset is one of those. I thought Sunset came later. I've always wanted to see Sunset, and I never have.
It's on Tubi.
Yeah, I'll have to check it out then.
It's on Tubi, and it's Bruce Willis and James Garner. It takes place in the 1920s, and he plays Tom Mix, and Gardner plays Wyatt Earp, and they team up to solve a mystery because, of course, they would.
Yeah, and it has a very impressive cast.
It does. It has a lot of great character actors, including Malcolm McDowell and
Andreas Katsoulis.
Yeah, the whole time he's doing this, he's still doing moonlighting, and then there's Die Hard. And it came out the same year in 88.
Yeah.
And we both, when we were doing 88, we realized that Die Hard actually came out late that summer, right, guys? Mm-hmm. And it was slow released and built up over time because you think of Die Hard as a Christmas movie, but it didn't come out at Christmas. So Tarantino said it. I know other critics have said it. And a lot of people think not only is Die Hard maybe the best action film, a lot of people think maybe it's the best movie of the 80s.
Ooh, that's a hard argument to make, but it's up there.
Have they not seen Star Trek 4?
Well, if they've saw Star Trek 2, they would forget about 4. Stupid whales.
I will definitely say
yourself, bitches.
That's a hard argument to
swim away
put
from
out. They're saying that Die Hard is the best movie of the 80s, but I mean,
there's some people who say, I've heard Tarantino say that maybe, as far as he always shits on the 80s, but that the 80s did produce one American classic, and it's Die Hard.
Yeah, it didn't do Ghostbusters or anything, or
Ghostbusters is our favorite movie.
Yeah,
I don't know. Die Hard's pretty damn good.
Yeah, no, but Die Hard is definitely in the top 5 all-time best 80s films. I don't know if it's number 1. I don't either. It falls into that category of Chad, we all talk about this. Chad, list your 5 favorite movies of all time. I can come up with a list of movies that I really love, but there are so many.
It's so hard to narrow it down. But I will tell you, the Die Hard with age is never dropped, in my opinion.
No,
I can watch it right now and it holds up and works like
it
is a Swiss watch. It works so well.
There are movies that we loved who arguably don't hold up. We've talked about this. I don't agree with Joe on how much he hates it now, but I still love Goonies. But yeah, it does not.
I don't hate it. It's just incredibly flawed and boring.
Yeah, I don't agree with that comment at all. But I agree with Joe that if you sit there and said, Chad, Goonies best movie of the 80s, you are wrong. It's nowhere near close. It's just entertaining from a respect. It has good just remembering your childhood.
Quick question.
Is terribly there's plot holes everywhere.
Can we agree though that Goonies is the best movie with the Cyndi Lauper closing song?
No. Vibes. Sorry, I don't know if Vibes actually. It has actual Cyndi Lauper in it. I don't know if it has a closing song.
Oh, the Vibes. Yeah, that's with Jeff Goldblum, right?
That's with Jeff Goldblum. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I can't. I don't know without knowing every movie that has a Cyndi Lauper song in it. I would say probably not.
It was on the other day, and we play a game in the truck of, hey buddy, tell me what movie the best use of this song is in a movie.
Yeah,
he never gets it right.
Yeah.
So
anyway,
Die Hard.
Back to the Heart.
I mean, we've talked about it so many times. I don't see the point of.
There's no point in it, but it is a perfect action film.
It's the perfect 80s action film. It is the best. Would you say it's the best 80s action film?
Yeah, it's definitely. Does it surpass? I think it surpasses Lethal Weapon. I think it surpasses.
I think Lethal Weapon is but Lethal Weapon's a good movie. Lethal Weapon 2 is a really good movie. They're both really good movies.
I don't know if I can say that because I think there's too many movies in the 80s that get all cross genre. Like, I mean,
RoboCop.
Well, RoboCop, Predator. I mean, and I don't know if they're better than Die Hard.
No, but Predator is pretty damn good.
Predator is good, but it's not Die Hard.
Both directed by John McTiernan.
It depends on what mood I'm in, though, right? It depends on what mood I'm in, because the problem with Die Hard is if I want a stupid, over-the-top action movie, it can't be Die Hard.
No, Alan Rickman's too damn good.
Well, and also there's emotion in it. I mean, if I want, as my dad would used to say, if I want explosions, it ain't Die Hard. I mean, Die Hard has explosions, but it also has emotion and, everything that's going on and all of that stuff. And like you said, Alan Rickman, that's when I need Predator.
God, I love Predator.
I love Predator.
I love RoboCop. Anyway, moving right along. We're not here to talk about those movies. We got to get through our Bruce Willis things. In Country is based on a famous book written by who?
Bobby Ann Mason. Bobby, I've got the poster to In Country. The movie did not nail the book. The problem with the book, though, is, and I'll be honest, I saw the movie once on television. I bought the poster because it's Bobby Ann Mason, and one day I'd love to meet her and have her sign it, though I'd love to know what she thinks about the movie. But the movie itself is about a teenage girl, and plays the older brother in the movie. Her older brother's a Vietnam vet, and it's more or less about them taking a trip to the wall.
Yeah.
But they're both obsessed with MASH, and it's how he deals with his war memories is by watching MASH, and that's very hard to adapt to a film. But the book, he quotes MASH a lot because it's his way of getting through his PTSD and all these other issues and stuff like that. And that's the book. But Bobby Ann Mason is a phenomenal writer. B, I'm shocked more people haven't adapted works by Bobby Ann Mason. Great author. But so the book, the fact that they cast Bruce Willis, I would actually say that's relatively good casting. I just think it was hard to adapt that particular book into a film. Anybody else got anything?
No, well, it's directed by the great Norman Jewison. I've seen it. It doesn't work for me. It didn't work for me when I was young, but I haven't seen it since I was really young. probably shortly after it came out. So I may feel differently about it now. I don't know. The next is Look Who's Talking. I saw that in the theater. I mean, is there a lot to say? He's good as the voice of the baby.
Yeah, I mean,
Look Who's Talking
he-
movies. The first
him
one's
and
actually pretty good.
yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, I enjoyed it.
I haven't seen it in years.
Yeah, it briefly brought John Travolta back before he disappeared again until Pulp Fiction came around.
Pulp
But
Fiction,
no, when I was a kid, I liked it. Now I've watched it recently. I don't really care now, but I mean, it's still single mother. Yeah, it's and Bruce Willis is good in it. That's all I can say about it.
yeah, I haven't
really.
seen it in a long time. I don't know either. Any of them. The next is, of course, Die Hard 2, the best of the Die Hard sequels.
I hate you so much. I hate you. I just hate you. Hate
I
you.
watched it. It
Can
was
I-
on.
Have I
again-
said hate?
It was on again at Christmas, and I was watching it, going, "Well, this is a lot of fun."
It's fun.
I enjoyed it. It
I
makes-
know I'm not bad mouthing
It
Die Hard
makes-
2. I enjoy it. It's a good film, but it's not the best one.
yeah, okay. So we're all in agreement that none of us like anything after Die Hard 3, right?
Oh God, yes. Yeah.
Okay,
Hold on. Now, which ones Live Free or Die Hard?
after 3,
I know it's been
That's the fifth one, I think,
fourth one.
with Captain Boomerang. No, isn't part 4 the one? Is that Live Free or Die Hard with the with Timothy Oliphant? I thought that was
Live Free or Die Hard is the fourth one.
okay. My fault.
That's all right. I'm just here to make sure that we don't go over. Anyway, back to what I was saying. So Look Who's Talking. Then there's the the abortion known as the Bonfire of the Vanities, one of the biggest failures in Hollywood history. I mean, we had Tom Hanks, Bruce Willis, directed by Brian De Palma, based on the best-selling novel, and it all went to shit. So much so that it was going crazy. What movie just got no attention to it and was just able to be whatever it wanted to be, and then came out and failed as well? Do you gentlemen remember?
No.
You remember Bill Sandell? Nothing but trouble. Dan Aykroyd had no one watching over him as he was doing his little Vulcanvania movie. Remember?
Oh yeah. I
Remember
forgot,
the
I
studio
forgot.
was busy with the what was happening on Bonfire of the Vanities.
I forgot all about that story. Yes.
It just stuck in my head. And have you guys ever seen it?
I have tried to get through it. It is hard.
The
So, no,
only
I have-
part of it I remember that didn't suck is Morgan Freeman as the judge screaming at them at the end.
Yeah, and all I remember is the big tracking shot of Bruce Willis getting out of the limo and then him grabbing a big thing of salmon off a plate and just eating it, which was, I thought, one of the grossest things I'd ever seen.
Yeah.
real quick. So, what year are we at in his career?
And this would be 1990.
Okay.
I mean, I wouldn't call him an overnight success, but you got to think it's 1990. He's already been Die Hard and Die Hard 2 and all these other things. And on top of that, he didn't start moonlighting to 85.
Yeah.
That's pretty quick.
So he's going fast.
He's going fast. I mean, the next after that is Mortal Thoughts. Have you guys ever seen that?
No.
It's tough to watch. It's directed by Alan Rudolph, and Demi Moore and Glenn Headley are in it, and they conspire to try to kill him. One's his girlfriend and it's not I don't remember liking it, but once again, I haven't seen it in years. But it really gets us to the movie that Chad really wants to talk about, because 91, he had 4 films come out. Mortal Thoughts is one of them. Go ahead.
What
Chad.
at 91?
Yeah.
He also had something else going on.
What? There's 4
He
movies.
He would be working with Robert Earl, along with Sylvester Stallone, Demi Moore, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Whoopi Goldberg, Jean-Claude Van Damme, Don Johnson, Cindy Crawford, Melanie Griffith, Tom Arnold, Wesley Snipes, Danny Glover, John Hughes, and Roseanne Barr all were involved in Planet Hollywood in 1991.
I didn't
Robert Earl
realize
being
all
the
those
mastermind
people-
behind it.
I
Yeah,
don't-
I
ones.
thought, honestly, I thought it was Kurt Russell, or no, was it Bruce Willis, Schwarzenegger, and
Yeah.
Stallone?
They were the big ones, the ones that they really amped up. But other
Because
other people that had endorsement deals that included stock were Whoopi Goldberg, Don Johnson, Jean-Claude Van Damme, Cindy Crawford, Melanie Griffith, Tom Arnold, Wesley Snipes, Andy Glover, John Hughes, and Roseanne Barr.
Because
I didn't know it was that many people either.
Yeah, I didn't know it was either.
But it's probably because in 1991, who would I have cared about? The action stars, which would
Yeah,
have been.
well, I think those are the only ones that took up the most of the press.
Yeah.
And I still remember, and I'm assuming it was Entertainment Tonight. I still remember Entertainment Tonight doing a segment with Bruce Willis as he was talking about this restaurant and him eating Captain Crunch fried chicken. And going,
God, that sounds good.
I wanted to try that so bad. Of course, they stopped serving it probably like within 6 months of the restaurant being open. That was one of when I actually, for the first time, got to go to a Planet Hollywood when I was in college. I'm like, I'm finally getting that Captain Crunch chicken, and I was devastated to find out they no longer had it on the menu. True story.
I didn't realize, by the way,
Yeah,
how big that got for a while, where they also had their own spinoff of an ice cream company. Which was hold on, what was their ice cream company called? Because they also they spun it off for a while into a sports one, which was called the Official All-Star Cafe, which was a sport one. They briefly had a Marvel Comics themed one that only lasted a year called Marvel Mania. But then their ice cream was Cool Planet Cafe, and the slogan was "Where ice cream is the star."
So yeah,
right.
so Hudson Hawk.
Never heard of it.
God, I really, really, really do love this film.
You and Christy Lewis.
Is it the best film of all time? No.
No.
Is it the second best film of all time? Probably.
It's because they're not even close. It is
to go back. So here, let me look and see if it's streaming, because I detested this movie. Like most
I have a copy.
It's on Netflix.
No, I it is corny as hell. It makes no sense. It is just straight up goofball.
That
but
opening's great.
Yeah, and Bruce Willis and Danny Aiello are a perfect combination. They play off each other so well in that film. And then the villain, who's, oh my God, why am I blanking on the name? Somebody help me.
Oh, I had it.
Richard Grant. Richard Grant.
Richard Grant's one of the best actors of all time. Hold on.
Yeah.
My internet's a little unstable. Sorry about that.
Yeah, we're noticing.
Well, hold on. I'm checking.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it looks
I'm
fine.
holding.
All right, go. So
It's fine
sorry
now.
about that. Richard Grant's one of the best actors of all time. Why are we pausing?
James, yeah, okay.
I'm fine. But
James
yeah, no,
moved.
Joe's all
froze.
Twitter pated. Oh,
I
is he
have
back?
no idea. I have full bars. Sorry about that. So let me write down more.
Well, maybe if you didn't empty all the bars, you alcoholic, you'd talk better and everything.
So
Everything.
I'm
So
gonna
yeah.
say, can I say this one more time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Richard Grant's one of the best actors.
I think the internet is trying to prevent you from doing that, because every time you start is when it freezes.
Okay. Well, anyway, I like Richard Grant.
Yes. So I can say it is one of the best character actors of all time. But yeah, and the only thing that troubles me about that film is Andy McDowell. She's not over great in that film, but everybody else around her picks it up. But yeah, it is just a straight goofball film, and Bruce Willis just putting his comedy chops into it. I hate that it got such poor reception when it came out. It has a cult following now, thankfully. But yeah, it still just does not get the respect that I think it is for what it is. And I just love Hudson Hawk. James.
Well, real quick, and the thing about Hudson Hawk, do you think anybody else has as random a career as the director of Hudson Hawk?
Michael Lehman, yeah. I actually really like a couple of his movies. One in particular, I enjoyed The Truth About Cats and Dogs. It's a really well made
well, that's what I mean.
rom-com.
Heathers is what a lot of people know him for, but he did Heathers, and then 40 Days and 40 Nights, as Joe said, The Truth About Cats and Dogs, Hudson Hawk, Meet the Applegates, Airheads, which we've mentioned before.
Yeah.
And because I said so, TV-wise, he worked on The West Wing, The Larry Sanders Show, Watching Ellie, Century City, Big Love, which my wife loved. True Blood, Californication, Wonder Falls, White Famous, which
Are you going to read all these, James?
Yeah, especially when
American
it's an episode
Horror
about
Story,
Bruce
Snowfall,
Willis.
Veronica Mars, and 68 Whiskey. But all I can think about is, of all those, I like Hudson Hawk.
Yeah, I do.
I do.
Too.
I mean, I know Heather's is Heather's, but I don't
Meet
care.
the Applegates is a truly bizarre film. If you ever get a chance to watch it, you'll either get into it or you're going to think it's awful.
You know what his, by the way, real quick, I know we're not talking about Lehman, but you know what led him to directing Hudson Hawk and all his films, how he got started in the industry?
No.
Answering phones for Francis Ford Coppola at is it Zoetrope? American Zoetrope? Yeah. He had made a student film called, let me get this correct, because he's convinced this is what got him a career. The Beaver Gets a Boner.
Yep.
With his student film at USC. And that got him a job answering phones.
So
I'm surprised with the trio of 1991 of the movie that we haven't mentioned, with Hudson Hawk, Mortal Thoughts, and Bonfire of the Vanities just being bad bombs, that Bruce Willis was still able to continue.
Yeah, The Last Boy Scout would be the next, which also came out in 91.
Yeah. Which is I love that. I like that film a lot. I still do.
I haven't seen it in a long time. It's a really dark movie.
It is, and he is just a terrible human being.
There's nobody really redeeming in that film, as I remember it.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
No, except for the little girl, played by Danielle Harris. Yeah, but no, everybody's terrible in that film.
Do you think one of the challenges with Hudson Hawk is that it didn't have a writer?
That's always the challenge. I was watching.
The story was by Robert Kraft, who's a musician, and a good musician, and Bruce Willis. Now, screenplay was by Daniel Waters and D'Souza, but if you're starting with a story, there's actors that can write. Don't get me wrong, and I like this is me saying I like Hudson Hawk. That being said, do you think one of the challenges was that it's a little uneven because it didn't start?
Well, yeah,
organically.
The first act of that movie is a lot of fun, where they're singing, he and Danny Aiello are singing a song to keep time as they rob. He's a cat.
Would you like to swing on
a star? It's wonderful, and then the rest of the movie is nothing like that.
No,
right? It's nothing like that. It's crazy, over the top. It's several different movies in the one.
Has a great cast though. I mean, Bruce Willis obviously leading the cast, but like you said, Danny Aiello, James Coburn.
So moving along, because we're only in the 90s.
Yeah, we're at the
also in Billy Bathgate and The Player. But this is a movie that once again was not a huge hit. It's kind of Zemeckis' first. It wasn't a bomb, but it was not a huge hit for Zemeckis either.
See, I thought it was.
I look it up. It's not a big movie.
I trust you, but yeah, I thought it was a big
Death
success.
Becomes Her. That's one that I think people either love or like meh, because I'm meh, and people I know love it, and I haven't seen it in a long time.
I apparently I'm not the case. I enjoy the film. It's not one that I go and revisit frequently. I like Bruce Willis is he's the odd man out. I love the combination of Goldie Hawn and Meryl Streep. I mean, they played off well one another as rivals.
Yeah.
But yeah, Bruce Willis was just
another dark movie.
Yeah, Bruce Willis was just there with a really crazy mustache.
Yeah, it's another dark movie. I don't have a lot to say about it. It has some great effects in it.
Yeah.
He has one of the best cameos, and I'm glad IMDb has it, and I forgot he's on credit. He's actually him and there's two other scenes in Loaded Weapon 1 that are hilarious, but when they blow up the trailer and it's him that comes out at Loaded Weapon 1, go, no, damn that would hurt. That, and when he goes, I've got this burning itching sensation, he goes, your damn foot's on fire, are my two things that I remember. I don't think Shatner's funny in that, him in the fish thing with his mouth, but Tim Curry's funny.
I am sorry, but Tim Curry, would you like to buy some cookies?
That does it for you? That does it for you?
No. I'm just saying it's one of the many things, one of the shining moments in that movie and along with the other two that you mentioned.
Right. It is
Yeah,
great.
man.
I haven't seen it in forever. It's right here in my head. It's hilarious. It's
Mm.
hilarious. Actually, Charlie Sheen has a kind of another funny cameo in that with Amelia.
Yeah.
Okay, Striking Distance. What a piece of shit.
Where he plays his
Tom-
character's name?
Tom
Tom
Hardy.
Hardy.
It's just
Yeah.
a bad movie.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's bad. Yeah, no, we can just breeze right by it. It is not a good film.
Chad, James, have you even seen it? He's a cop investigating murders.
I'm sure, because it's a movie that starred Bruce Willis, and literally, once again, let me remind you of my father's guide for renting movies. Does it look like it might have an explosion in it? Yeah, I'll give it a shot.
But it is directed by Rowdy Harrington, though, the guy who brought us Roadhouse and Gladiator. Roadhouse. And
not the good Gladiator you're thinking about either, audience.
No.
That would be
the superior one with Brian Dennehy.
That is
Cuba
not
Gooding
the
Jr.
superior one. All right. Pulp Fiction is the most, I've said this in my opinion, Pulp Fiction is the most influential film in the last 25, 30 years.
Yeah.
He's fantastic as Butch the Boxer in it. Once again, we've talked about
we talked about it in depth. Yeah, we can easily, but yeah,
who's Zed?
Zed's dead, baby.
He that movie would, unfortunately, like I said, John Travolta gets a lot of the credit. Samuel L. Jackson and John Travolta get due respect for that movie. It brought John Travolta back and Uma Thurman, and it made Samuel L. Jackson a mega star.
Yeah.
But Bruce Willis's performance is largely overlooked.
I agree.
It's an amazing performance.
I agree. I completely agree with you. And he's also good in the next movie I want to talk about. One of my favorite Paul Newman performances, Nobody's Fool.
Oh, you skipped over 3. Okay.
Skipped over 3?
Yeah, you skipped over. Well, they're not. They're the lesser films of North. Color of Night.
Oh, I did skip over North and Color of Night. Have you ever seen Color of Night, Chad?
I have. Yes,
I have too. You see Bruce Willis's wanker.
That movie cost so much. 1994. It was insane. And for what that movie is, you're like, why did it now? Did it come out in 1917?
Did they have 2 different cuts of it? Because you see her naked a lot in it. Does that ring true that they had 2 different edits of that?
It sounded like he said, did you see her neck?
I heard Naples, and I was like, Naples? I mean, I've never been to Naples. I've heard it's tough.
For some odd reason, guys, my internet is full bars and it's saying that I'm having trouble. So anyway.
Yeah, no. So anyway, but yeah, no, I never understood. Again, it's just that delicate. We can't handle anything it's not that controversial if you look at it today.
Fred Durst, it just has a lot of nudity. It may have been R in the theater and came out unrated on video. That may be what I'm remembering.
Maybe.
Chad, so what you're saying, though, what Chad's saying is this is pretty much a movie where Chad wants to look at old people and say, okay, boomer.
I mean, I could give you the synopsis of it. I mean, there's a bunch of people. They're in a self-help group. One of them's a murderer.
Yeah. And you're trying to figure out which one's the murderer.
Yeah. He's a narrator in North. North is damn near unwatchable.
Oh,
Color of Night is almost unwatchable.
I will say this though, for some reason we were bored. I couldn't find anything, and me and the kids watched North, and they loved it. And I'm like, oh my god, who am I raising?
Oh, you know what?
But North has such a great cast.
Mm-hmm. And there's some good performances in it, but the movie itself is just. But yeah,
I am so.
It could argue that Tom Hanks stole his performance for Polar Express.
Tom Hanks stole his performance from what?
But Tom Hanks's performance in Polar Express was a ripoff of Bruce Willis's performance in North.
I don't remember. Is that true?
No, it's just Bruce Willis is playing multiple characters in the film,
as
guiding
a narrator. Okay, you're making a joke. Okay,
yeah. Sorry,
that's okay.
That went over like a lead balloon. Anyway,
Nobody's Fool.
Let's get to Nobody's Fool, which is
really good movie.
Yeah, God, it's an amazing film.
Yeah, it's Paul. It's probably Paul Newman's last great performance. I'm not taking anything away from Cars, but that's probably the last great performance we got from him. He's just an older guy who screwed up his family. His dad screwed him up, and he's trying to make amends with his son. And Bruce Willis
in a small
in a small town. Bruce Willis is a contractor. His wife's Melanie Griffith, and Paul Newman keeps hitting on her, and she shows her boobies to him at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
I gave you the plot, and nobody's. It's a much better
Yeah.
film. It's so much more in depth than that.
Yeah,
but-
it really is. It's a movie that captures a small town in the dead of winter.
Yeah.
Lower class, maybe. I would definitely. I mean, there is the upper. You do see a little bit of the upper class, but it's mostly lower class people who are just there, living their life. It's a great film. It's maybe one of the top 10. If you had to make me make a list, it would be one of my top 10s.
Really?
And yeah, God, I love Nobody. I could stand and watch it at any point in time.
All right.
Ed Wood, Roger Rabbit.
Okay, I am going to pause real quick and see if I can fix this internet.
So are we? Yep.
We're back.
We're back.
Combination of the air shield. Sorry about that.
But,
We're back to fight the evil.
So Die Hard with a Vengeance is next.
Okay. I love Die Hard with a Vengeance. I really do. And Bruce Willis and Samuel L. Jackson's pairing in that, I love. They did play off each other perfectly.
But
And-
sadly, they'll never work together again. Shh. He doesn't know about the other movies, Joe.
No, I just really like Die Hard with a Vengeance because not only is Bruce great in that film playing John McClane, way better. I know I like his performance as John McClane better than in Die Hard 2.
Yeah.
Because again, he's getting his ass kicked. He's not the best cop. He's drunk. He's just doing what he can to get by while this man is tormenting him. Also, the other reason I like Die Hard with a Vengeance is I love how it captures New York, Manhattan. I mean, I just love it.
Oh, yeah, you liked the film that way, but that one time a drunk cop showed up at your house, you were all like, hey, this guy's not professional.
Oh,
Well,
it
was
has
a big
happened.
hit. It was a big hit. John McTiernan returned to direct it, and it did have Sam Jackson in it.
Yeah, and oh my God, villain Jeremy Irons.
Yeah.
Jeremy Irons is a great villain in that.
That's
I mean,
the poor man's Alan Rickman.
oh, you're probably right.
Pretty close.
Once again,
I have seen Jeremy Irons mail in a few performances. I've never seen Alan Rickman mail in a performance.
Once again, though, you mentioned Jeremy Irons, and because my mind is a Rolodex of Simpsons and Family Guy, I immediately go to this is Jeremy Irons cereal. It tastes like cardboard. If you're looking for the prize inside, there is none. I'm Jeremy Irons.
Next was, as we're going through some of these, and we may want to skip a couple of them, gentlemen.
Yeah, especially for the sake of time. But yeah,
Four Rooms.
Four Rooms.
Yeah, the best one of those is actually the one directed by Tarantino. There are 4 segments, and that's
which one's directed by Tarantino?
The Man from Hollywood.
Yep.
Yep, and he did it uncredited.
I don't remember that one. Is that the last one where they're in the room?
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
Bruce
the
Willis
one
in
where
it.
that's the one where they cut off the finger.
And Bruce Willis is great in there.
Yeah.
Trying to convince Tim Roth to do it. I mean,
Yeah.
I love that. That is the only segment of that film that I enjoy.
I kind of like the first one with the witches, but yeah, there's the one directed by Rodriguez, right? With the kid.
About the kid. Yeah.
Next is 12 Monkeys. Does one of you want to talk about 12 Monkeys? So I like 12 Monkeys, but I don't have an attachment to it.
12 Monkeys is a great twist on time travel that we had not seen before. Not in that way. Time travel had been played as comedy. Time travel had been played as science fiction, but it's done differently. And so, I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of it, but I do think it did.
It was a hit. Terry Gilliam was another hit. Yeah.
I will say, I think it's a movie that did something we hadn't seen mainstream time travel films do before. And so I give it credit. It was an experience to watch.
And a lot of
especially with Bruce Willis's performance in that as well. I mean,
but that's another one that gets overshadowed by a guy that got nominated. Didn't Brad?
He got nominated, didn't he?
Yeah, Brad. Shit, why can't I think of the actor's name? Superstar
Brad Pitt.
Yeah,
nominated.
Brad
right?
Pitt. Yeah, I've already said it. Yeah, I said
Brad
it before
Pitt
you
get nominated for Best Supporting Actor for that, Chad?
Yeah, I just said that. Did you not hear any of that?
Brad Pitt get nominated for Best Actor of all time in the best movie.
He sure did. But
He was in Highlander?
Last Man Standing with Tim Allen.
But you know what? You know what didn't get nominated? Bruce Willis's performance as being so drugged up that the drool is just literally just dripping down to his chin to the floor. That is an amazing shot.
Yeah. So are you guys gonna talk about Last Man Standing?
It is the best.
God.
It is the best third version.
Yojimbo, right?
Yeah, I'd say it's
Yes.
the best third level descent of Yojimbo ever, because you've got Yojimbo, that's generation one. Then you have the Clint Eastwood version as a Western. And then you get this version, which is a gangster film.
And it's it's so great. It's just gangsters in a country Western town.
Yeah.
For
With
some-
Christopher
Go back and
Walken.
watch it because I don't have a lot of great memories of it.
Oh,
I
it
may
is.
like
Well,
it,
the
but I
problem
do.
is, Joe, I think, is that if you've seen Yojimbo and you've seen, oh shoot, why am I blanking on the Clint Eastwood?
Good, the bad, and the ugly.
No, that
A Fistful of
full of
Dollars.
dollars. Thank you.
Dollars.
Yeah, see,
God,
you're laughing at my mule, and my mule doesn't like it when you laugh at my mule. Anyway, the problem is if you've seen those, you know every hit that movie's going to make, especially if you've seen A Fistful of Dollars.
Yeah.
It is. It is bam, bam, bam. And so my dad loved action films, so I watched it with my dad, and my dad even said, it's good, but it's literally a fistful of dollars. Now, my dad never saw Yojimbo, but my dad was like,
Well,
it
most
is.
Americans hadn't.
Yeah. But my dad was like, it is every part of A Fistful of Dollars. I'm like, yeah, that is exactly. It's just gangsters instead of cowboys. But it's got Christopher Walken. And of course, I'll watch anything with Christopher Walken.
It's written and directed by Walter Hill. I think the story behind that, and I literally don't look this up, but I think if I remember correctly, is when Walter Hill got a hold of it, it might have been science fiction. Same story set in science fiction, and then he moved it to it's the 20s, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
West
two gangs trying to control the rum coming in from rum, alcohol, sorry.
I need to go back and rewatch it.
It's not by far a perfect film, but it is an entertaining film with the gun battles and Bruce Willis just playing a slimy, guy looking out for money.
All right.
Yeah.
So let's go over a couple of the voices. Not so much, but I know this is one of Chad's favorite. I can't remember if it's one of James's favorite. Chad, what is it?
Beavis and Butthead Do America.
No, Fifth Element.
Sorry. Let's briefly talk about his role as Muddy and
Beavis and Butthead. He does a good job.
He does a good job as this drunk redneck. Him slamming them in that apartment, in that hotel room, is amazing. But yeah, no, Fifth Element is one of my favorite science fiction films.
So it never quite works for me. Night.
Is there any humans in there? No, sir. I am a meat popsicle. It's a great line.
I love Gary Coleman.
Gary Old.
Oh my God, that would have been a different movie.
Oh my God, I love Gary Oldman as the villain in that.
Yeah. So the problem is with Bruce Willis, it's Bruce Willis playing Bruce Willis, but he is overshadowed by Gary Oldman, Chris Tucker being extra annoying, Mila Jovovich.
Mila Jovovich is really good in it.
She's really good in it. And Bruce Willis is just Bruce Willis with really platinum blonde hair and some weird kind of orange vest.
Dallas Corbin Dallas.
Yeah. Corbin Dallas.
Yep.
So multipass.
No,
I think yeah, Fifth Element is beautiful. It's a beautiful science. I love it. It's nice to look at, as well as it tells an interesting story.
And it was designed by a comic artist, right? It was designed by Mobius.
Yeah,
he was one of but
Jean-Claude Mazars. I'm sure I mispronounced that. Sorry, but
it was directed by Luc Besson, and Luc Besson had wrote the original story for that when he was a kid.
Yeah. It was the most expensive European film ever made when it was released because it had a $90 million budget, but it went back to make that back pretty easily.
Yeah. No, we could talk about it all day, but we're here to talk about Bruce Willis. And
all right.
But Bruce, yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I just really love Fifth Element.
Well, as I was saying, I think Fifth Element is one of those iconic performances. Not necessarily by Bruce Willis. It's an iconic film, right? Like if you hold a gun to my head and say, name Bruce Willis films, I don't think it's going to be in my top 5.
Yeah.
because it does work so well for me.
All right, let's skip around, Joe. What do you want to go to next?
The
Nobody's-
Jackal, I didn't care for. It's a
No.
No, pass.
I thought the Jackal
Mercury
was,
Rising is another sucky movie.
yeah.
Yep,
We already talked about the Armageddon.
yep.
Did you guys ever see The Siege?
I did.
I did. Yeah.
Again, it's not.
I've never
it's
seen
not.
it.
Oh,
Oh,
really?
really?
No, I've never seen
It's.
it.
I saw it.
Also got Denzel in it.
Yeah, I was gonna say I saw it, and I can't tell you much about it because I remember seeing it and going, "Well, this is interesting," but that's it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's nothing memorable about it to me. Chad may feel different.
There is nothing memorable about Bruce Willis. Is just this hard general who is willing to trap everybody for his country, and Denzel Washington it's actually a Denzel Washington led vehicle. So yeah, the Siege is
With Tony Shalhoub as his Lebanese partner.
and is Annette Bening in that as well? I think.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
no, it's not a very memorable film. So let's move on.
It's
Up.
a 1998 film about a terrorist cell, which was completely irrational to think that a terrorist cell would ever affect New York City.
Whew.
Oh, Breakfast of Champions came out in 1999 and was a bomb. It's directed by Alan Rudolph, but it's also based on the book by Kurt Vonnegut Jr. Kurt Vonnegut. I've actually never seen it or read the book.
Yeah, I must admit, I've not seen it,
I've never seen the movie.
and I
But
like Kurt Vonnegut. I've just
I
never seen it.
now want to see it.
Yeah. Then you get a movie that once again you think, oh my God, how does he survive all these bombs? And The Sixth Sense comes out in 1999,
Yeah.
and he's good in it. He's good in it and he underplays it and does a really good job. I've
Yeah,
never seen the story of have I seen The Story of Us?
That's him and Michelle Pfeiffer.
Pfeiffer? Yeah, it's directed by Rob Reiner. So
Yeah, no.
years of marriage. Yeah, I know. Yeah,
I prefer One Fine Day. There's your George Clooney. Where I prefer George Clooney.
I do prefer One Fine Day. Yeah, The Whole Nine Yards. That's a movie, by the way, that I was never a huge fan of. That was a success that a lot of people like.
Yeah,
I like Whole 9 Yards. I like it. It's one of the tolerable performances of Matthew Perry. But
I like
Anything
Matthew
about Mandy
Perry.
Pete.
I like Matthew Perry, sir. I think he is one of the best of the friends.
he is the best friend. There's no argument there that he is the best friend. But that's saying a lot. I don't know.
I like every sitcom he tried to do afterwards because they're all dark and sarcastic and they never catch on. But I've loved everyone.
Yeah. No, but yeah, Bruce Willis's performance in The Whole 9 Yards, where he's just this slick hitman, and the sequel where he completely loses his shit. Those two pair well to one another, and Bruce Willis, a good performance in The Whole 9 Yards.
So next is The Kid. I've never seen it.
I enjoy The Kid.
Disney's
I really
Kid,
do.
directed by John Turteltaub.
And he's great in that. He is. It's one of those movies that a lot of people don't recognize.
I'd have to.
He meets a younger version of himself. You ever hear of Saturday?
Yeah,
Saturday.
I knew it would get us
By the
all.
way, this movie is not on Disney Plus, even though it's a Disney film.
I wonder why. I don't know. I never looked it up. But no, The Kid. I will say this: it has one of those scenes that actually made me cry. It's at the end. I'm not going to spoil anything away, but he sees a scene from his childhood, and he pulls so much away without saying a word. That shows his talent as an actor, especially in a cheesy film as The Kid, where he just stares at what's happening, and you see the absolute heartbreak in his face. It shows his talent. So
Well, and Joe, by the way, just FYI, alluding to it was written by Audrey Wells.
Mm-hmm.
And Audrey Wells also wrote The Truth About Cats and Dogs. She sadly passed away shortly. The Hate You Give, she wrote, but she passed away before it came out. She died of cancer in 2018. She was only 58 years old.
It's unfortunate, but it's also directed by John Turteltaub. And for you all who didn't know who that is, he directed National Treasure films,
which James hates.
No.
And Meg, which Meg, by the way, is more fun than it has any right to be with Jason Statham.
So let's move on before James just bashes about. goes on
If
his
you
National
say
Treasure
one
rant.
bad word about National Treasure, those films are delight.
I don't care
They
for
are.
it either. I'm with Jed on this. I don't understand the appeal.
Well, I'm sorry, but you suck.
Unbreakable.
No, I didn't say. I never said I hated.
Unbreakable.
I never said I hated National Treasure. Let's get that off the record.
Anyway.
Unbreakable is. I know people love The Sixth Sense, but as a comic book fan, Unbreakable was mine.
It's my favorite. Mine. It's my favorite M. Night Shyamalan film.
Yeah,
except for that last 3 minutes, gentlemen.
Well, no, I knew exactly what was going to happen.
Yeah,
if you're a comic book fan, there was no spoiler there.
It's not that. It's once that stops and it starts talking about, and he was put into prison and blah, 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 blah. Ruins it. That movie needs to end with, I am Mr. Glass.
No, I agree.
Yeah, it needed to end. Yeah, they didn't need that. They didn't.
And then
need
there's
that
the whole thing in that, and it's horrible. Like it's
a real biopic.
Yeah, it's
bullshit.
awful.
But I agree with you. But Bruce Willis is.
I am Mr. Glass.
But again, it's something about M. Night Shyamalan films where it's Bruce Willis plays these quiet characters who you can see just by his looks and his facial expressions that he's a suffering character.
Well, that great scene where he first goes out superheroing, so to speak, but where he's just standing and he's trying to pick up on something.
Yeah, touching him.
And he's out there with the raincoat on and all that. It's just a great scene because it gets to, I don't know, it's effective for me.
But the scene where his son is holding a gun to him.
Yeah.
Saying, I'm going to prove this. And Bruce Willis is just sitting there quietly, calmly talking to him.
Yeah.
Great performance. That scene alone, I think, outweighs his performance in Sixth Sense.
I haven't watched it in a long time. I need to go back and rewatch it. I know I didn't care for the one with all three of them in it.
Yeah. Oh God, I hated Glass. Yeah, Glass was terrible.
Yeah. So next is Bandits. Movie I like quite a bit.
I do too.
Bob Thornton.
Yeah, no, it's oh my God. Yeah, Kate Blanchett.
Barry Levinson. Yeah.
Barry Levinson. Yeah, no, Bandits is a great film, and those two play off well. I love Bruce Willis giving his hypochondriac brother grief because I did that.
Hearts War, I've never seen.
Oh.
Grand
Champion, anybody? Tears of the Sun. These are all
Tears of the Sun. I did see. I saw it in theaters. It was my We Were Soldiers.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because Tears of the Sun, he actually produced himself. It came out through his production company, which was Cheyenne Enterprises. And one of the interesting footnotes about it, it's not a movie you're going to remember. If I remember anything about it, I think they have to get an American doctor out of a hospital before it gets ransacked by, the war that's approaching it to it. But he actually used Sudanese refugees to make it more realistic. So he actually so there you go.
All right.
He's a dog in Rugrats Go Wild.
Yeah, we're good there.
Yeah.
The whole 10 yards we talked about.
Yeah.
Hostage. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Hostage.
A forgettable movie.
Yes, but Sin City.
John Hartigan, he plays so well.
He does a good job.
And it's the narration work. Sometimes narration is terrible. See the original version of Blade Runner. But his narration, as he beats himself up in his own narration.
Yeah.
Stupid old man, and he's a flawed character, but he does it so well.
Lucky Number. I'm going to skip Alpha Dog and go to Lucky Number 7.
Yeah.
Movie I enjoyed.
Mm-hmm.
I prefer to talk about the movie after that.
Yes,
16 blocks.
16 blocks. Richard Donner's last film.
Yeah.
That's just a solid, I don't mean this in a bad way, it's just a solid, good B movie.
Yeah. Bruce Willis is a cop who's at his end. He's done. He's ready. He's just cashing in the checks at this point, and he's given a task.
So there's a bunch of them here. Does anybody want to talk about anything till we get to Die Hard?
I want to talk about Over the Hedge because it's kind of been forgotten, but it's an animated movie and my kids love it. And it's one of those that you watch and you go, how did this not get a sequel or something? How did this not? Gary Shandling unfortunately passed away, but the voice talent on
Steve
it.
Carell is Hammy. I don't know why I remember that,
but it's got a great cast. I mean, you've got it's got William Shatner, it's got Wanda Sykes, Nick Nolte, Eugene Levy, Catherine O'Hara, Average Lavigne.
She loves it when you call her that.
I know. Well, like she knows who I am. Like she's like, did he call me that again? Crying into piles of money, I would assume. But I mean, I think, you know, Bruce Willis plays the con artist role in that. And he does it so well. And it's an animated for kids, but you still can see him in that role. So I wanted to mention that even when he does a voiceover work, if he does it well, he does it well. And so if you've never seen Over the Hedge, watch it. There's commentary about humanity in general on that, but it's well done.
Yeah.
All right. So
go ahead, Chad.
no, I'm good. What are we going to? What?
Live Free or Die Hard. What a terrible movie.
Oh man, yeah. No, it's not good.
Kevin Smith talks about being on set and having to rewrite a scene. And it's a long story and look it up, but he talks about Bruce Willis making the comment because who's the act Timothy Oliphant, who's a fantastic actor, who's just completely miscast in that picture, completely miscast in that movie. Talking about Timmy, we already have problems because Timothy's playing the bad guy as a pussy. And by the way, go back and watch it. He's right. He's right. It's not cool. It's not working. It doesn't work.
It's not Alan Rickman. It's not William Sadler. It's not Jeremy Irons.
No,
it's none of those.
And it just is bad casting and doesn't work.
Yeah.
The movie sucks too.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Surrogates,
I'd say Surrogates I own on DVD. And you want to talk about a movie that should have worked or would have worked, but just doesn't somehow. It misses. It's a great idea that we live in a world where we don't go out, we send out a surrogate that looks like us, but then somebody is murdered. And how does that happen? But it just doesn't hit the way it should. Yeah,
it's directed by Jonathan Mossel, who directed Breakdown, which is one of my favorite Kurt Russell performances. All right. So I'm going to, once again, I don't cop out as well. What's the last one? Red? Red's a lot of fun.
Yeah, Red. I was about to say Red is great. I enjoy Red. Obviously, he cameos in the Expendables, but Red and the other one, actually, I would say, Joe, his last one that I would mention, I want to say Looper.
Yeah. I'm looking through it, and I mean, there's Death Wish was probably the last big film. Death Wish.
Oh, no. There's one more I've got to mention. Chad, how did we forget this one? Speaking of Ed Norton,
I hadn't got there yet. But no, Motherless
Brooklyn is the last movie I saw that I was like, God, he and he's not a major role in it, but he's the cornerstone of that movie.
Yeah, he's the driving force of what compels Edward Norton. Yeah, no, and his performance is great in that, teaching Edward, he's the only one that respects him. He takes care of Edward Norton, who is a man with Tourette's who's trying to get by
in the 1920s.
In the 1920s, when nobody knew what it was called or nobody knew what it was,
and it was just you were a freak. I mean,
you
belonged in a freak show, and he gives him, and he learns what tricks he can do, and he helps him get through it. But he idolizes Bruce Willis's character, and then through a series of events, some of which he blames on himself, when Bruce Willis is lost, dies, and he has to figure out, he's got all these mannerisms, and then there's all this, and there's a background mystery of why it's called Motherless Brooklyn and all of that. And it is probably one of the most compelling, because when he tried, it's a compelling movie.
I really do.
I bought it on Blu-ray when I finally found it, and I've probably watched it 3 or 4 times. And the soundtrack on it's great. But yeah, Motherless Brooklyn may be his last great. I know it got a theatrical release. Sadly, very few people saw it. But Motherless Brooklyn.
I still haven't seen it.
Oh,
God,
it is.
You may hate it, Joe. But that being said,
I hate it. I just haven't seen it yet.
It is completely character driven.
Yeah.
It is not it is a character driven movie, and it's a character study, and it's just, God, it works so well.
But yeah, that will probably go down as Bruce Willis's last best performance is Motherless Brooklyn.
I haven't seen it, but for me, it's Looper.
That Looper is, it's up there. Yeah, it's between Looper and Motherless Brooklyn. It's not Rock the Casbah. Oh God, what a disappointing movie that was.
You know, I still haven't watched it. As much as I love Bill Murray, every time I go to watch it, I'm going to, oh, this is just going to suck.
Oh God, it's terrible. But no, yeah, Looper is, man, you cannot talk about how amazing, can't say enough about Looper.
Yeah, Ryan Johnson is one of my favorite filmmakers, and I really like Looper. So we've went a little long on this. Hopefully, we've talked about most of Bruce Willis's films. There's a bunch on here. We've actually had Stephen C. Miller, who's directed him in several of the ones that they've talked about, like Marauders and a couple of others. He had nothing but wonderful things to say. I mean, you can go back and watch that episode or listen to that episode on Bonehead Weekly. Thanks, Bruce. I know he'll never listen to this, but I appreciate his, I don't know what to say other than thanks for all the entertainment. So many good movies.
Yeah.
Well, and I was going to say, so real quick, if you somehow missed this or don't know what's going on, Bruce Willis has effectively retired. His family made an announcement. He has aphasia. And if you don't know what aphasia is a language disorder. You lose the ability to control language and expression and things like that. Your comprehension goes down. So you may, minor cases would be, you forget an apple's an apple, which obviously if you're doing lines of dialogue, that's a big problem. You have that disconnection. Now, what causes aphasia? Stroke. And I know his family has said, to my knowledge, nothing about what caused it, but it can be caused by a variety of things. Stroke is really common. It does affect men and women equally. There's two major types. There's broca aphasia, which is when the front portion of the language dominant is injured. And then there's what's called Wernicke aphasia. I'm sure I'm mispronouncing that, but that's the side portion of your brain is damaged somehow. It can be caused by stroke. It can be caused by severe infection, fever. If it damages that part of the brain, it can do a lot of damage. Brain tumor, certain forms of dementia cause it as well. And so, as you think about this, Liam Neeson actually came out, I think 24 hours ago. It's been within the last day as we're recording this. But he actually he had accepted a script, and he's proceeding with the movie about a hitman that has memory issues. And he said that it's been hard making it after that news came out because he thinks about Bruce Willis. He said he thinks about him every day when he's making this. And, he goes, it's a script about a movie, about a hitman with memory issues, but he goes, you're making it and you think about somebody that you actually know that's going through something similar where they've had that disconnection. And so, there's all sorts of parallels that I think about. I'll be honest, one of the ones that I thought about that hit me hard, and it's not the same thing, but we mentioned Terry Gilliam directing, but one of the Pythons, one of the Terrys,
Terry Jones.
Are you talking about Terry? I was about to say, where are you going with this? You're talking about Terry Jones?
Yeah, because Terry Jones lost the ability to communicate. And I think that's a really terrifying thing to happen, not to anyone, but also if you've made your career off of communicating and conveying emotion or conveying certain things. So as Joe was saying, Bruce Willis has given us all a lot of entertainment. He's given us a lot of different things. And so as we think about these people that have entertained us, it's a little bit tragic to also think about when that's lost and what that means. And so it's a bummer.
All right, guys. So this has been Bonehead Weekly. If you have any suggestions on this, you let us know. Send all your hate mail to Chad Jennings. Bonehead Weekly. Bye-bye.
Uh-huh.